Welcome to Turn 1, a Formula One podcast.
So for our final topic of the day, let's do something fun.
I really like fun segments.
So why don't you give me your top 10, and we can go back and forth on this, but why don't you give me your top 10 favorite liveries of all time? And for those of you that are going to be watching, we're going to put the pictures up on the screen so that you can actually see the cars. But for those who are just listening, like on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all of those, we're going to describe them to the best of our abilities.
And then you can go back and watch it later if you're interested to see what the car is.
And we'll give you the actual names of the cars too. So if you want to go into Google and type that in, you'll see the car that we're describing.
Yep. And we are not aware of each other's lists other than we can kind of see some of the names of them, but I don't think we know the design. So we'll see what overlaps. All right. I'm going to put, these aren't really in any particular order. I just have my top 10. Hope that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I'm going to put them up on the screen and you tell me just your thoughts. So we have the 2008 McLaren MP4-23. Look at that thing.
Oh my God. And see, the way that the red accents the chrome look, I love how it's like a mirror effect.
It's not just silver. It is like straight chrome or a mirrored polished metal.
So for those of you that can't see what we're looking at, the wing on the back of the car is actually completely red with obviously the logo sponsor name on the top of it. But the wing it's on the front is also red. The rest of the car is...
The colors are cool. The reason I picked this car is the front wing. Look at this front wing design.
Oh yeah, I mean it's mean.
It's what is this that goes over the hood or the nose? What is that? I don't know, but it looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. And ironically, I think you're going to find my number one pretty funny because of that.
Okay, as I look at the name, it is awfully similar.
So for my number one, I went with the 2012 McLaren MP4-27.
There it is.
So for those of you that can't see, it's the exact same car.
Almost. So the colors are the same, but I'll add the front wing, clearly a different design.
Yeah, so the front wing looks a lot more aggressive, but if we're focusing just on the livery itself, then here again,
it's so cool.
I love that chrome almost mirror look. It looks like if you walked up to it, you'd see a clear reflection of yourself.
Yeah, so McLaren has awesome looks.
I should probably also add that I have a lot of McLarens on my list.
That's fine. That takes me actually to my number 2, which I'm going to bring up a revelation that I had with McLaren liveries. This is the 1988 Marlboro McLaren. This is probably number 1 on a lot of lists.
So for those of you that are listening, if you want to look up this car, it's actually called the 1988 McLaren MP4-4.
Thank you. Is it also on your list?
It's also on my list.
So this is the front of the car starts with a white stripe. There is a red kind of diagonal stripe towards where the driver sits, more white, and then the back wraps it up with red.
I'll describe this car easier than anybody else. I'll tell you what, you go to your local grocery store, you go to your local gas station, walk up to the clerk and ask for a pack of Marlboro Reds. Look at the color of that box, look at the stripes, look at the logo, look at everything, and picture it on a car. It's exactly what it would look like.
It's just an awesome looking car, and this is my revelation that I have with McLaren. I always thought that was a Ferrari.
And I can tell where you're getting
because it's red.
Well, not just the red, but also at some point Ferrari was also sponsored by Marlboro. Yeah. So there is a Ferrari car with Marlboro stamped
and so
on it.
When I was looking this up, I searched the Marlboro Ferrari and some things. And I was like, that's not what I'm looking for. It was like solid red. And I was like, that's not what I want. And so I had to go find that it was actually McLaren. And I was like, okay, so McLaren has has 2 of my favorites of all time.
Yeah, you're looking for the Ayrton Senna car.
Yeah. All right, what do you got?
So for number 2, I got the 2020 Mercedes W11.
The black Mercedes.
Yeah, so it's an all black, and if you look closely, you'll see at the very back of it, it has a bunch of different small Mercedes logos. That really kind of gives it like this fading, polka dotted kind of feel to it, and it's completely outlined in that Mercedes light blue, cyan, whatever you want to call that, but it's the pinstriping that goes all the way around it. Car's all black. You're
going to like something that's later on my list, but this was a departure from what Mercedes was known for, being the silver arrows.
Yeah.
Going to an all-black car.
So it is. So the year before this, they actually had the silver car, and then
Yep.
immediately after, they went a completely different direction. And I gotta say, I know it's probably the newest one that we're gonna have on this list. I love it.
So I don't know if it's the newest one we have on this list.
Oh, I didn't look at yours.
But I will say that whenever we started getting into F1 and watching Drive to Survive, they didn't show a lot of Mercedes because they were just in the background winning, right? They were focusing on the younger or struggling teams. And so whenever we first started getting our glimpses into Mercedes, I only knew the black car. And whenever they rolled out this year back to the silver, I was like, what is this silver car they're rolling out?
Without knowing the lineage.
Little did I know that's what they do.
The silver arrows.
Which makes sense because like the Mercedes logo's classic silver logo.
All right, why don't you give me your number 3?
Okay, let's introduce Williams into the picture. This is the Williams FW14B car. I like this for a couple reasons. One, and this might not be the best picture, but do you know what this yellow is up on the front?
It's kind of hard to see. I'm going to go
It's
with
another cigarette company.
Oh, then it's definitely Camel.
It's Camel. So it's got this iconic, kind of dark, not quite navy blue base. And this is the one that like really exaggerates the open wheel racing
I love it.
concept. The wheels are so far detached from the car with these very thin metal tie rods.
God, but it looks so aggressive in stance.
It looks so good, and that rear wing is so minimal. It's clearly the 3-piece wing that was prior to the single-piece wings they have now. But just that blue and yellow combo with the camels on the front and side is awesome, and I love it.
I like it.
All right, what's next?
All right, so for number 3 for me, we're going to jump back to McLaren. We're going to go with the 2016 McLaren MP4-31.
I've never seen this car.
I have never seen this car until
Why is
I
it
started
so
doing
cool
this
looking?
research. So it is all black with...
There's a theme to your picks, by the way.
I like the all black look. It's nice. So with the all black look at the very... I'm not going to say the very back of it, the middle of it, right behind the driver's head, you'll see the McLaren orange, but it's almost like more reddish than normal. And
Kinda
it's got
flames.
It's kind of flames, kind of like these flare out arcs. It looks great. And then there's a pinstripe that goes over the top in that same color. All, like I said, on the black livery. Gorgeous.
Okay, my favorite detail of this car. Again, if y'all go look up this car, just look at the rear wing design and the vents that it has coming off the side of this thing. That is the most aggressive looking rear wing I think I've ever seen on a car. And I want to know how the simulations, this is a McLaren, right?
Yes.
How did they determine that was the best design to have 5 spokes coming off the top of the rear wing?
I've always wondered stuff like this. Sometimes I feel like they just draw something and then they put it in and see how it goes. And if they end up with something, that's kind of okay, but it could make some tweaks, that's when they start making the moves to kind of tweak it here and there, take away some of the wings, whatever.
I would have had that car on my list if I had known it existed.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Okay, let's introduce the all-time leader in F1, Ferrari, to the mix. The 2001 Ferrari F2001.
Very original. All red.
All red, and I told you earlier that I didn't like the one that I found originally for this one, but this one I really like. There's 2 reasons. One, the low profile rear wing, and look at how close the front wing is to the ground. It is millimeters
That's ridiculous.
off the ground.
I gotta say, if we're talking pure liveries here, I like the all red look with the black trim that goes along the bottom.
Yep.
And then the black TV pod on top kind of brings it all together.
Yeah, when you look at this, it just screams Ferrari. Obviously, on the very front of the wing of the nose, it's got the little Ferrari logo and the Italian flag.
Which I never understood, because if you look at Red Bull, the Red Bull logo is massive.
Yeah, it's huge.
On that car. Why does every Ferrari car have this itty bitty little emblem on the front?
Because they don't have to.
I guess that's fair.
You look at this
The
and you
longest
know
lineage.
that is a Ferrari.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, what's next?
All right,
This is your number 4.
This is my number 4. Yes.
Okay.
Since you went ahead and brought in Ferrari, I'm gonna bring in Red Bull.
Oh, you
So,
said you had a surprise for me.
introducing the 2013 Red Bull RB9.
Yeah.
Now, this car is awesome, and I'm going to tell you why. So it's your basic Red Bull package. It's the exact same car that Red Bull brings pretty much every year in terms of how it's painted. So you have the Red Bull logo with the red and the yellowish orange on top that kind of blend into each other. The whole car is the base blue that it always is. But look at the Infinity logo where you see it right there. Look at that purple.
It's like pearlescent almost.
It makes me think of like space or something like that. It's gorgeous.
So it looks like the kind of dark blue that we're familiar with Red Bull now at the bottom, but it almost fades up into a lighter blue as it gets closer to the Red Bull logo, and I really like that shade of blue. So one thing that I have about Red Bull, y'all know that that's one of my favorite teams. I always thought the current car was black. Yeah. And then I saw someone do a mock-up design of if the Red Bull car was black, and it looked way different. And that's when I learned that it was really dark blue. I like that lighter shade a little bit better. This whole car is cool. It's got the orange stripes coming up the side.
And see, I knew you weren't going to have any Red Bulls, and I'll tell you why. Because yes, it's your favorite team, but if you go back and you look at every single Red Bull paint job, they're all the exact same. But this one, with that purple blend at the bottom, I just think it accents it amazing. That purple bleeding into the blue is almost really cool. It's a perfect blend.
I'm going to call it the same thing I did on your last one. Look at the rear wing.
And I think that just has something to do with the time. I think that's what it really is.
But that is wild looking, and
because
I like it.
The first one you noticed it on was what, the 2016 McLaren? The one right before, the black one? Okay, so then this one is evolving. 2013 Red Bull. So if we're talking about a 3-year difference, there's not many technical changes there.
I guess I haven't looked at these cars close enough to see that detail in all of them, but it's really cool how they work that into design. Okay, my number 5, I'm going back to the Ferrari well, except I'm going as modern as we can get. The 2022 Ferrari F175. When they released this car, so again, to refresh everybody, 2022 is the season we fully got in the sport. We watched all of Drive to Survive, and then we started live on the 2022 season with the races. And I think this is one of the most perfectly designed cars ever, the 2022 Ferrari.
Okay, I want you to tell me what it is exactly about this car that you love, and then I'm going to do the same.
Okay, so one, the side pods. The side pod design is like this flowing, not undulating, but this kind of wicked line that goes from a horizontal oval in the front where it opens up by the driver cockpit down to a vertical oval as it wraps around the back of the car. And the black accents Ferrari went super heavy on this year. So it's a base red car, but then they just have it spotted with these black accents in lines and wheels and the wheel covers and the wings. And I love everything about that car.
So that's exactly where I was going to go with this, is the fact that they did their basic Ferrari red, which I always love. It's always going to be a fan favorite. And I almost want to say that this might be even like a little bit less vibrant of a red than the other one that you just showed, which I kind of like.
Yeah, it's like a matte finish.
Yeah.
And they, again, like you mentioned, little bitty Ferrari logo on the front.
I never understood that. I still don't, but fine.
But when they rolled this out, I thought this is one of the best looking cars of all time. And again, they accent the Italian flag where they can on the car.
Oh, so if you look at the back of the car right behind the driver's head, I didn't realize that they had black in there as well, kind of like fading from red to dark red to black and then back. That looks awesome.
This is the area, so we're talking right where the TV pod is mounted. This is the area that I think they messed up on that 75th anniversary car that they rolled out that had like that weird yellow and red stripe thing here. This is how this should have looked.
That looks amazing.
That looks awesome. Okay, number 5 for you.
All right, I'm going to go with the 1991 Jordan 191.
Oh, man, let's see. Yeah,
so for those of you,
I've seen this one a lot.
So for those of you that don't know, the Jordan 191 is the 7-Up car that was made famous by Michael Schumacher.
It is green 80%, and then the side pods up to the front nose are blue with a nice bright green Tic Tac logo on the side.
Yeah, but the way that green for the 7-Up blends, and they have the wing is green also, and then it just, as you go lower, it turns blue. But I think that the green and the blue match up, and the shade of green that they use specifically, because if they had done more of like a yellowish green, it wouldn't have blended as well. This is super cool.
It's like the perfect, almost neon green. It doesn't hurt your eyes, but it looks really, really cool. And I think that's okay. So this is for another time, but the fact that they can work in these sponsors that are clearly giving them tons of money to do this, and they can make a cool looking car out of it.
I mean, the way that they incorporate it is the coolest part. Because 7-Up, if you look at a 7-Up can, it's green.
It looks like a 7-Up
can. And that car looks exactly like a 7-Up can.
I didn't put that one on my list, but it would definitely be on my list of honorable mentions. Okay, my number 6. The 2006 Renault R26.
I didn't realize how similar our lists were. This is funny.
It's all right. You're going to know why I love this one.
I mean, I can tell you why I love this one.
Yeah. So it is powder blue or baby blue with this kind of yellowish orange accent running through the middle of the car. And if anybody knows me, they know that I love powder and baby blue. I think that is an awesome color.
Yeah, I really like the way that it starts at the top with that baby blue, and then, like you said, with that yellow pinstripe that goes down the middle, then back to that baby blue. And the way that they did the pinstripe, it looks aggressive. It looks mean, because then you look at the front wing and it's back to that baby blue. So this whole thing is kind of like pointing forwards.
Yep.
It's almost like an arrow going straight.
It looks awesome. And then the last point on this, the same thing that we called out with the Ferrari, it's a really unique side pod design. It's super stubby and kind of fat and not very long, but it looks really, really cool. And they incorporate the Mild 7 logos everywhere on that car. But that is the 2006 Renault. All right, what do you got?
So for my number 6, we're going to go back to the 1991 Williams FW14.
Yes. This is a better picture,
so here's
too.
the thing. So the one that you have is the FW14B. This is actually its predecessor, the FW14.
They look very similar. Your picture is better than the example that I have. I like everything about this car too. There's no reason that this one couldn't replace the one that I have.
No, I like the color choices that they made. And, you look back on this car, and if you really want to tie it into the history, this is the Williams that got them to the top. This is the Williams that was dominant. This is the Williams that was making a name for itself and making a name for the Williams company.
Yeah, just as a refresher, this is the blue Williams with the yellow camel advertising accents all over the top near the driver cockpit and where the TV pod would be. That is a sweet looking car. Okay, this is one that I think I debated putting on the list. Let's see if I can pull up the right one. Yeah, that's it. The 2001 Jordan EJ11.
Huh.
I debated
like it.
I debated putting it on the list because it seems a little gimmicky, but at the same time, it is so unique, and I think that needs to be called out for its uniqueness.
So we can dive into this a little bit. If you look at the front nose cone, you've got
it's wild looking.
A painted mouth with teeth that are sharp, with one solid gold tooth
that is sparkling. And then you have this wicked yellow color that's accented with black. It's essentially all yellow and black except for that mouth opening with teeth that's kind of red at the front. And I think that the uniqueness should be honored here a little bit.
I like it. I like the color choices. I like the fact that they went with a darker yellow and not necessarily like a vibrant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it blends with the black perfectly. I like it.
Okay, we're on to your number 7.
So for my number 7, I'm going with the 2018 McLaren MCL 33.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are just listening, this is an all orange car with just the back fin and the back wing as a blue accent.
This would be like if McLaren was trying to rip off the Ferrari car.
Dude, I love this car, and I'm going to tell you why. Because first of all, when you look at past McLaren cars, you've got the all black, you've got the chromed out, you've got all of these different ones that they did. But this is the first time where they went all completely McLaren orange.
It's like their current car is very similar to this, except you take where the side pods are and you now make them black and blue, right? But that orange is the most vibrant highlighter orange you can possibly imagine, and it just works. That is really cool. Okay, this is one where I said I was going to have a newer one than you. I had the Ferrari already, the 2022, but I'm going to match your Mercedes with my own Mercedes, the 2021 Mercedes W12, the other black Mercedes.
So I want you to give your likes about this car, and then I'm going to tell you why it didn't make my list.
Fair enough. So one, I like the all black. We've been over that. I think the blue accent was done slightly better on this one than the other one. I don't really have a reasoning why. I just think it was done better. To your point, I like how they did the rear of the 2020 better than the 21. I like the little silver Mercedes logo fading away more than I like this one. But there's just something about how they did the blue line on this car that I like more. What do you think?
I mean, I can see it because of the fact that it's all black. That's always going to be a favorite of mine.
Yep.
And then, of course, they've got the pinstriping, which is more well done, like you said, than the year before, which I'll agree with. The reason it didn't make my list, though, is because without those Mercedes emblem, polka dot, fading feature, whatever you want to call it, it kind of just looks like another car.
I get it. I think this was a really good look, and it's one of those things I can't quantify other than I like it.
I mean, personal preference.
All right, what do you got?
For my number 8, I picked the 2004 Ferrari F2004. This would be Michael Schumacher's championship winning car, one of. But this one, yes, it's not all red like Ferrari normally does, but I like the white accents. I really do.
They did the white minimalist and tastefully. So the front wing is white, but it has a solid red nose over the top of it. This is when the F1 cars had like we mentioned earlier, the really low down front wing that are only a couple of centimeters off the ground, if that. And so the accents are able to kind of play and tie in a little bit differently on the modern cars where the front wing dominates the front of the car. And then you have the part right under where the driver sits. No idea what that's called. It's before the side pod, and then the rear wing with the white accents. So it's mixing up the Ferrari just a little bit. What else is different about this one than the other Ferraris?
So for one, how about the giant Ferrari?
The giant Ferrari side on the side. And giant's relative, but for Ferrari, that is a giant logo on the side of the car. Interesting. Okay, we're getting to our final ones here. I've got my number 9 and then a surprise for you, but we will save that. For number 9, the 1988 Benetton B188. This one at number 9 almost didn't make the list, and I think number 9 is accurate to where this one would be ranked on my list. So if you haven't seen the 1988 Benetton car, it is a hodgepodge of colors that don't really go together.
Okay, so this looks like somebody opened up a pack of Skittles and just dumped them on the table. It looks
like Skittles, or a child tried to draw a car, but they only had 4 markers to use.
But I gotta say, if you're ranking it in terms of uniqueness, it gets a 1, man. This is...
So just like the Jordan car, this one is on there for unique purposes. I don't think it's really a cool car, but they definitely went out on a limb. They've got the front green part of the car, and it's a weird green. It's not a normal green. Then they've got a yellow behind the green that is also a weird kind of off yellow. It's not really bright, but it's kind of leaning orange. And then red and blue at the bottom in the back of the car. And then there's black accents.
This is a hodgepodge.
It is a wild looking car. But again, just like that Jordan car with the weird mouth and the gold tooth and all that, they went out on a limb, and I like it. I would love to see a car that looks like that in modern cars. I think it would look really, really cool.
I definitely like it. It's a good one.
Okay, hit me for the number 9.
All right, for number 9, I'm just going to double down on one legendary car that you've already brought up. I'm going to revisit the 1988 McLaren MP4-4, otherwise known as the Marlboro McLaren. Talked about. Once again, for those of you listening, go to a gas station, walk up, ask for a pack of Marlboro Reds.
Okay,
that's the car.
Same one. The way that the red is like striped and kind of diagonal and accent in there just makes it look aggressive and mean. And the minimal sponsors on the car, the fact that it's just Marlboro and Shell pasted everywhere on the car.
I got to say, for a car where they came up with a paint job in 1988, I would like to see this on the grid today.
Yep, it looks awesome.
This is sweet.
Okay.
So I noticed that for number 10, you wrote down surprise.
I do. I have a surprise. And so I have 3 cars on here that would be modern: the 2022 Ferrari, the 21 Mercedes, and this one. This is a team that we've talked about already today that was once great and has fallen from greatness, but maybe they'll get back to it. I loved everything about this car, and I'm almost afraid to admit it because I might be judged, but that's okay.
Oh my
gosh. The
gosh.
2021 Williams F1 car.
The Tiger car.
The Tiger stripes are awesome, and you can't tell me they're not.
I'm not going to lie. I spent a lot of time going back and forth with Williams because they had a bunch of different liveries, and I didn't know which ones that I wanted to incorporate. But I got to say, this one's pretty sweet.
It is sweet. So this car has a white front end on it, but then it goes into this dark blue and light blue, almost cyan colored tiger stripes covering the entire back half of the car with the Williams logo incorporated at the top where the TV pod is, and then it goes to black. And I think this is an awesome car, and I'm standing by that.
Here again, in uniqueness, it definitely ranks up there. I don't know if it's one of the best liveries I've ever seen. But It's definitely nice.
It clearly made my top 10. Again, the only reason it wouldn't have made my top 10 is because I didn't want to be made fun of by anybody, but I'm okay with that.
So for my number 10, we're going to skip the one that I put just because it's the Fernando Alonso one. It's the same one we already looked at, the 2006 Renault R26. So we're going to change it up. We're going to go with one of my replacements. Why don't you pull up the 1991 Leighton House CG 911?
Interesting. Never heard of this Leighton House. Whoa.
Yeah, so this one is definitely unique. It's got like a baby blue as the bottom and going down the nose, but at the tip of the nose, it's going to go with the green, the dark green. And at the top where the TV pod would be, if there was one in this year, is also that same green.
So you're booting out the baby blue Renault.
I'm not booting out
for a baby blue Leighton House.
I just don't want us to have 15 ones that we have similar. So let's show them one of our alternates.
Well, hang on. I agree that this car definitely should have been in my top 10 if I would have known that it existed.
This thing is sweet.
The baby blue with the darkish green accents. Kind of depends on how the light hits it is how the green looks, but it's a cool looking car.
And you can follow the line on the body for the separation between the blue and the green all the way through the back wing where it's, once again, the top half is that green and then it fades down into the blue.
Okay, which one are you going to pull up?
I got a couple more honorable mentions. So why don't you pull up the 1990 Lotus 102?
I'm a sucker for the Lotuses. Yes.
Yes. Yes. So for those of you that don't know, it's all yellow. It's all camel yellow, and it says nothing but camel everywhere. And I love it.
It takes the it takes the blue and yellow camel car that we talked about earlier to a whole nother level of just we're riding with this advertiser to the end.
But the fact that it's one solid color, no fading or anything like that, and then the blue for the actual words. Yes, it's camel, and I understand they got the color scheme from camel, but it is a sweet color scheme.
It just works, and there should absolutely be a car on the grid right now that looks like that. Maybe not the camel sponsorship, because I don't think that's allowed anymore.
Probably not. I don't think any tobacco companies.
But some other yellow and bluish advertiser could do a car like this or a special edition, and that would look awesome. That car should be on my list too. Your list might beat mine.
Well, let's round off this list because I have another honorable mention that's not listed right there. I want you to look this one up.
Oh,
I saw that you had number 10 as a surprise, so I thought I would throw in one that I found.
I thought this was the surprise.
Okay. I'll show you a surprise.
Okay,
look up the 2003 Sauber C22.
2003 Sauber C22.
And I'm going to tell you what's special about this car. Now, I want you to tell me, first of all, this is Sauber, correct?
Yeah.
Why don't you read off some of those sponsorships on it?
Okay, for one, there's nothing on it that is red. Let me go back to the picture. It is blue and light blue and yellow, but we have Petronas.
Oh, we do have Petronas.
And we have Red Bull.
And we do have Red Bull.
What a hodgepodge of sponsors.
So that's why I wanted this one to be the surprise. So what you're looking at right now is the 2003 Sauber car. Now, the Sauber car was actually sponsored by both Red Bull and the Mercedes sponsorship Petronas. Therefore, when you look at this car, you will see the blue, red, and yellow from the Red Bull, but you will also see the Mercedes cyan baby blue from Petronas.
And they went full on sponsor with the color. So the base of the car is almost in the middle of the red blue, dark blue, and the Petronas light blue. Like they mixed those together, went 50-50. The front wing is the Petronas blue. The side pod is Petronas blue, but then up at the top you have the Red Bull logo in full with the jumping bull and all that. And then also the air diffuser that goes into the side pod is yellow and red, just like the Red Bull logo.
I just thought that you would get a big kick out of this because we have the two main competitors. Both on one car.
And this is a Sauber car.
This is a Sauber car.
So we've got three different potential F1 constructors all on this one car. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, there's our top liveries of all time.
So that is going to round out episode 2 of the Turn 1 Formula One podcast.
We thank you all so much for listening to episode 2. If you didn't catch episode 1, we recommend that you go back and listen to it. We will be rolling these out weekly. So thanks for sticking along through the journey.
Bye, guys.
See ya.